Hello there, everybody. And today, for my movie review, I'm doing Man of Steel. With the announcement of Superman 2, Superman Man of Tomorrow for the DCU, I'm very excited for it. But I'm going to be talking about Man of Steel before Superman got rebooted again. But after a long time since Superman Returns, we did not have a Superman movie at all. But once Zack Snyder came in, he decided to do his own interpretation of Superman. And this would be the Kickstarter to the DC Extended Universe. So people are very mixed on the DCEU, whether you like it or you don't like it at all. I honestly think the DCEU is just kind of meh for me. Like, I do like some of the casting for some of the characters, and there's some of the movies I do like, and some of them are guilty pleasures for me. But overall, the DCEU could have been a lot better, which is why I'm enjoying the DCU and what James Gunn has to do with the DC universe. It just feels like DC needed just another reboot. But it did start off with Man of Steel, and this time Superman himself is played by Henry Cavill. So Henry Cavill, I actually do like him as Superman. I don't know if I've said in the past that I didn't really like him as Superman. I honestly been mixed on him. It's just sad that he never really got to be Superman. Like, he never got that much development after Justice League, and he was basically given just a lot of broken promises, and it's very unfortunate. But when he did play Superman, he actually does look like him. The costume, I actually really do like the costume. It does look like Superman. It has like a mix of some of the Christopher Reeve Superman. That's a weird comparison, but it has mixes of like old Superman to modern Superman mixed together. That's what I kind of prefer this costume. But I do like how this movie is focused on Superman's origin in a more mature way. We actually see Krypton like in like a wild way. Like, we see Jor-El played by Russell Crowe, and he actually is trying to defend Krypton, which is at war with General Zod. And during that, he's able to help his wife Laura give birth to baby Kal-El. And just like in the Superman origin, they put him in the space pod, send him away as Krypton's ready to blow up, and General Zod actually manages to kill Jor-El. And because of this, he is going to be sentenced to the Phantom Zone, and he actually does. Unlike in the Superman movie, Jor-El is the one that sends General Zod to the Phantom Zone. But I might as well talk a little bit about General Zod. But this version of him is played by Michael Shannon. He's actually really over the top as General Zod. He just looks like an action figure, honestly, even though they did make an action figure of this movie. But he doesn't say kneel before Zod, but I definitely prefer Terrence Stamp as General Zod. Rest in peace, Terrence Stamp, by the making of this video. But Michael Shannon's alright as General Zod. I honestly think he's probably the best of the DCEU villains, since most of them were not really that developed, in my opinion. And don't get me started on Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. But if I had to pick a top villain for the DCEU, I'd probably pick General Zod. But it was cool seeing Darkseid in the Snyder cut, but he just wasn't that developed, in my opinion. But he looked super cool. But yeah, General Zod becomes a big plot point of this movie as he's sent to the Phantom Zone, and just like that, the pod crashes on Earth, and Superman Origins begins. And they actually flash forward to a lot of like present day Clark Kent to childhood Clark Kent. That's the one aspect I do like about the movie. We see Clark's childhood a little bit. He's starting to learn about his powers. He's able to see through people through his x-ray vision, and the visuals actually look creepy. In my opinion, that scene just looks ugh. But the main thing Superman does do in this movie is that he's able to save a group of his classmates while they're going on a field trip or getting sent home. He's dealing with one of his bullies. But the bus crashes, and he's able to actually save the bus, which was nice, a very Superman thing. But his dad, Pa Kent, does not want Clark to reveal his powers. I'm not really sure about that, since, I know Superman's powers are meant to be made a secret, but I feel like he would want to teach Clark to be the man they want him to be instead of just hiding who he is. I don't know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting things, but it's also because I did love the relationship between Paul Kent and Clark in the recent Superman movie. I'm comparing, I know. But the way Paul Kent, spoiler warning by the way, the way he dies in this version of Superman, it's actually wild the way they kill him off. I'm jumping, I know, but when we see teenage Clark, he actually gets into an argument with Paul. But a tornado is starting to happen, and Paul and Ma Kent escape the car, but they accidentally leave their pet dog in there. I was worried about the dog, but Paul decides to save the dog, and he tells Clark to don't use his powers. He just gives him the no, and unfortunately, Paul is sucked into the tornado. The dog does make it, by the way. But as Clark starts to reflect on his life a little bit, he starts to use his powers a lot more when he saves a group of factory workers. But he does discover his true origin, just like in Superman the movie, where he goes to, I guess you could say, the Fortress of Solitude, but this version is like a spacecraft of his pod, and he actually sees Russell Crowe as Jor-El, giving him the tools he needs to put on the Superman costume, but is interrupted by the arrival of Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams. So, Amy Adams, I actually really do like her as an actress. I like her in the Muppets movie. I actually saw her recently in a movie she did for Tim Burton, which came out in 2014. I forget what it's called. Big Eyes, I think it's called. She was really good in that movie. But her as Lois Lane, she's not my favorite Lois Lane. I like Rachel Brosnan's Lois Lane. I think she captured Lois Lane perfectly in the recent movie. But this one, I think it's fine. It's just she portrays Lois Lane, and I actually somewhat liked their chemistry. Henry Cavill and Amy Adams' chemistry, I kind of felt like a deeper sense between the two in this more mature world of Superman. But she is actually trying to find a scoop on the crash from Krypton, and she actually gets attacked by one of the robots, and Superman's able to stop it. And it's surprising that they're meeting before Clark establishes himself as Superman and when he becomes the reporter. But Lois is trying to get her boss, Perry White, to believe her story, and he's played by the amazing Lawrence Fishburne. I actually really do like Lawrence Fishburne in this movie, since I'm a big fan of him, not just in The Matrix, but in this version. I just dig it immediately with Perry White, since he's the big boss. He's basically J. Jonah Jameson a little bit, but in the DC universe, basically, and I just think he did it really well in this role. But the big thing that happens throughout this movie is General Zod announces his return through a cryptic video that he hijacks on the TV. It's actually a good scene, but he basically threatens Clark and he wants him to come back and fight him. But Superman is forced to turn himself in. But before that, he does make a decision with his mom. And I forgot to also mention Ma Kent, played by Diane Lane. I actually do like Ma Kent in this movie. I don't know, I liked her chemistry with Henry Cavill and little kid Clark when she was trying to reach out to him when he was struggling with his powers. I thought that scene was really good. But once Clark does turn himself in, he actually gets an interview with Lois a little bit. And it kind of reminded me of the interrogation scene in the Dark Knight. I thought that was cool. But the main thing that goes on is Clark is encountered by General Zod's army in the far wastelands, and the people are watching. And this becomes the huge thing throughout this whole movie. It basically just becomes Superman versus Zod. When he goes on to Zod's ship, and he's given all the information, and he goes through like a simulation where he sees a bunch of bones, and Superman gets buried. I'm jumping, I know, but Superman's able to break out of the simulation, and this is where the big battle begins. He basically, during all this, Zod threatens Martha, but once Superman shows up, he's not playing around. He kicks his main goons as asses, and it's actually an entertaining scene. But once we get to the Superman versus General Zod, and we start to see the destruction of Metropolis, it's just wild that how dark this movie gets. Since usually, what I did like about Superman, that he was able to save the people, and he caused no, even though there was damage going on, he prevented everyone from dying, even saving the squirrels. But in this movie, he's just fighting General Zod, and they're just tearing ass through each other and destroying building after building, and a bunch of people die. I guess Zack Snyder wanted to do a more darker interpretation of Superman, but I don't know if people really like that kind of betrayal. I know there's hardcore, the Snyder cultists, as they're called. I'm so sorry I have to bring that up on this channel, but they, for some reason, adored that kind of violence in this. But I don't know. I'm not really a fan of like Superman just letting all this chaos go on. I know this is a established Superman, but that's my biggest criticism of this movie is how much chaos goes on in this city. Since Superman prevents all destruction. I know Superman's not perfect, but some people like to say he is, like to say he's God. There's like a whole bunch of interpretations of Superman, but Superman does have emotion. He does have a lot of feelings, even if he's from an alien from another planet. But the big thing that does go on in this movie is probably the biggest twist of this whole movie. But once the battle escalates and buildings are falling down, and I forgot to also mention Lois she also gets saved by Superman when she also tags along onto Zod's pod, but she manages to crash land onto the planet, but she does get saved when Zod tries to crush her. But Superman does fight Zod in like a church, well, not a church, but like a bank. And the biggest thing that does happen is Zod tries to kill a bunch of citizens, and Superman's given the choice to either let him kill the citizens, or or kill him. And Superman does the big thing. He kills Zod by snapping his neck. It is a crazy scene, honestly. I wasn't expecting him to kill Zod, of all people. It's probably the most shocking scene in this whole movie, and we get that infamous scene where Superman screams, of course. But it was definitely bone-chilling to see Superman kill Zod. Was it the right move? He was doing it to save the citizens, of course. And I'm not trying to say Henry's bad at playing Superman. Like I said, I actually do like him as Superman. He does save people, of course, but it's just wild that the whole city gets destroyed, and then the characters kind of quickly move on. And I do like how the movie ends with Superman getting the job at the Daily Planet, But this is all set up in Batman versus Superman, where we see the consequences of what happened in that movie. But yeah, that's Man of Steel. So yeah, I'm kind of mixed on some certain aspects of the movie, but overall, I think it is a solid Superman movie. It's not my favorite Superman movie. I really did like the recent one with David Cornsweet as Superman. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Henry Cavill never really got to have his finale or his sequel as Superman. But at least he got to play the role, and he's completely chill now, even though he doesn't play Superman anymore. I hope he does return to the DCU and gets a prominent role from James Gunn, so we'll have to wait and see. But my overall rating for Man of Steel, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. But I'd really like to review Batman vs. Superman, since I do have a lot of thoughts on that movie for sure. So I don't know when I'm going to review it. I don't know whenever the time is right, since I would like to review the DCEU one day, since there's so many of them, just like the MCU. There's a lot of MCU movies I probably need to catch up on reviewing. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.